stayed there.
I spent some time today with my father and his father in Newburyport, Massachusetts, the town where they both grew up. I'd almost never been there before, and I don't quite know what accounts for that generational geographic gap. So we went to a few different places, houses they used to live, the high school football field where my father says you can still see the marks in the dirt from where his ass landed. My grandfather told me that the third floor of the high school used to be the library, and that there were still cigarette burns on the windowsill from him and, quote, everybody. We saw the house where my father was born and lived until he was 7 years old, and where, at 7 years old, he fell and broke his wrist after ice skating in the backyard. He described it as the first time anything bad ever happened to him, which I thought was an interesting way of looking at that. At one point, we were driving down a street, and my grandfather told us that a couple of years before it had collapsed because there had been a Prohibition-era tunnel underneath the road. Apparently, it's widely assumed that there are more tunnels, but nobody's found them. My grandfather did some construction work at an elementary school where my father attended. He says that construction work was responsible for the asbestos he has in his lungs. A couple years later, when my father was a student there, he was out at recess one day when he turned to a teacher and observed to her that it was cold outside. She must have misheard him or misunderstood because she dragged him back inside and told his teacher whatever she believed he said. His teacher gave him an incredibly appalled look and made him stay inside. He says he never quite found out exactly what happened. So the point is, both of them have something against that building.